There's a version of the story you already saw scrolling. Mama-in-law goes off, girlfriend gets dragged, comment section catches fire, everybody moves on by Thursday. Close that tab. That's not what happened here. What happened here is a woman with a phone, a grievance, and a very specific vocabulary sat down and read her son's baby mother like a lease agreement, line by line, clause by clause, and the part everybody's laughing at. That's not the part you should be watching. The part you should be watching is the part where she slipped and told on the whole arrangement. Because somewhere between the Fajr lecture and the Cottonfield monologue, Karlissa said something she wasn't supposed to say out loud on a live stream in the year 2026. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. So we're not doing this fast. We're doing this the way you read a contract when you already know somebody's trying to move something past you. Tap that subscribe if you already know we don't skip the fine print. The bell keeps you in the room when the next filing drops, and we've got 2 more coming this week you're not going to want to miss. Here's the shape of it. Nevaeh Akira, mother of Johnathan Jamall Porter Jr., girlfriend of Blueface, government named Johnathan Jamall Porter, and mother of a second child, superior from a prior situation, recently gave birth. Somewhere in that window, Nevaeh and Blueface got into it. Somewhere in that window, Nevaeh's father got on a phone with Blueface. And somewhere after that window closed, Karlissa, Blueface's mother, and by now, a full-time public commentator on her son's love life, opened a live stream and started talking. What came out wasn't a rant. A rant has no structure. This had structure. This had exhibits. Jaidyn Alexis was an exhibit. Chrisean Rock was an exhibit. Cardi B was an exhibit. And Nevaeh, postpartum, 6 days out, hair not done, was the defendant. We're going to walk through the whole filing. One more folder goes on the desk before we open anything. Karlissa Saffold Harvey, on the paperwork, is not a new party to this record. The Shade Room documented her claiming she was blocked by Nevaeh back in the first trimester, months before any Fajr entered the chat. The venue for every filing in this episode is the same, a front-facing camera and a comment section. And the specific, where behind the delivery room, a hospital bedside Blueface arrived at only after a live-streamed airport run with somebody else. Hold that, it's coming back around. Let's start with what Karlissa actually said on record in her own words, not a paraphrase. The document, quote 1, on Nevaeh's appearance. Girl, put your Fajr on and get yourself together. Can't be walking around here doing that white trailer park trash. And this is TV. You on full time. Your man making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month off this bull. You can't get up and do nothing. Quote 2, on replacement. And I want you to notice how casually this is said. We can see how easily he could just replace you. We can see how easily somebody else could get in here and get this cracking. Quote 3, the one people keep clipping, not walking around with no Fajr on is some funky nasty ass in the 2026. Put your Fajr back on. That's why your man ain't acting right. Quote 4, on the father, whoever her daddy is need to shut the up and mind his own business, just like Blue said, I would never have my daddy ever talk to my husband about nothing. Don't be having no another man unless he's sending you half on your rent. And then, quote 5, the one everybody scrolled past because it came late and it came quiet. She came in here for something. She didn't come to fall in love and be my son's wife. She came in here for a deal. When my son was in jail, she told me she sang. She wanted to get on. Read that last one twice. That's not an insult. That's testimony. But Karlissa's stream isn't the only document in this folder. The folder has co-signers. Pull the next page. Exhibit from the delivery room, dated August 18th, the night Junior arrived. Blueface on camera, holding his newborn son, looking him over and announcing to the room, I think I'm the baby daddy. The Shade Room ran the footage. That's a man joking with a paternity gag 6 days before his mother went live to litigate the mother's character. Cute. Next page. Earlier that same day, before the hospital, before the robe, Nevaeh on the phone, mid-contractions, 2 minutes apart, with a man who was live streaming an airport drop-off for Chrisean Rock at the time. I'm in labor, per the Shade Room's reporting, I'm by myself. I'm by myself. Sit with that one for a second, because we're going to be adults about this part. No music sting. No Zoom. A woman in active labor alone on speakerphone on her boyfriend's stream, while the trunk of that car held somebody else's luggage. That's the document. File it. One more from the phone records. The fight that preceded the father getting on the line. Blueface to Nevaeh per the clip circulated by All About the Tea. You make $12,000 a month because you work for me. Reported attributed on the record. Notice the verbs in that sentence. Not, I take care of you. Not, we're building. You work for me. Payroll language. Employer language. And then the father call itself, the one Karlissa referenced with just like Blue said. Here's what Blue actually said to the father of the woman who'd just delivered his son, per the footage making the rounds on Instagram. Ask the last girl what happened to her dad. Flat. That's the whole reaction. Because if you've followed this family's paper for longer than a week, you already know who the last girl is, and you already know her father's name is in a different folder entirely, a folder with police-adjacent pages in it. He didn't threaten a man. He cited a precedent. That's 5 new pages, all inked, all dated. Stack them next to Karlissa's 5 quotes, and the file stops looking like a family squabble. It starts looking like discovery. Now, pull back and look at the pattern, because Karlissa didn't come to this stream freestyling. There's a rotation to how she does this. It goes appearance, work ethic, comparison, threat of replacement, historical grievance. Then, right at the end when the audience thinks she's cooling off, the intent reveal, she did it with Chrisean. She's done a softer version with Jaidyn. She's doing the hardened prosecutorial version with Nevaeh now. The comparison bench is the tell. Watch who she picks. Jaidyn Alexis just had kid. She had another kid. She getting up. She washing dishes. She cooking. She taking the kids to the schoolhouse. And then she had to do most of that while he was in jail. Jaidyn is the approved template. Chrisean Rock, he watched Crowan get out the house on the first week and I don't know what she was doing, but she was doing something. Chrisean is the tolerated template. Cardi B, do y'all see how Cardi B jumped out that goddamn bed? That's how y'all supposed to do. Cardi is the aspirational template. Nevaeh is not on the bench. Nevaeh is at the defense table. That's the overlay. Now thread the new pages in, because the calendar underneath this thing is doing quiet work. August 11th, 1 week before the birth. TMZ reported Blueface walked out of his own home on stream after opening a closet and finding Nevaeh on the floor with candles, praying, which he framed as voodoo. 7 days later, she's in labor, and he's mid-airport run with the tolerated template. 6 days after that, his mother is on a stream explaining that the postpartum period is some white bull they done made up. 3 events. 14 days. 1 through line. Every Nevaeh milestone in August got answered with a public spectacle that recentered somebody else's comfort. And the 12,000 line, put that next to she came in here for a deal, because Blueface on his own stream in his own words already converted this relationship into an employment arrangement. Payroll, duties, leverage. So when Karlissa goes live and frames Nevaeh as a woman who came in here for a deal, she's not inventing a frame. She's inheriting one. The son built the filing cabinet. The mother just pulled a drawer, which raises a question somebody in this comment section is absolutely going to type. So let's put it on the board early. If she came for a deal, what exactly did the deal include? A salary her boyfriend announced publicly? A baby announced under one name and registered under another? Because, and I flagged this up top, for months this child was going to be Solar Porter. That was the reveal. That was the branding, that was the caption. Then the birth post lands, and the baby is Johnathan Jamall Porter Jr., his father's whole name, top to bottom, per Complex's write-up. A name change is not a scandal, but a name change in this family, in this month, is a signature on something. Hold the solar question. It pays off before we wrap. One more sequence, and this one's easy to miss if you're only counting the loud days. The Shade Room reported Karlissa claiming she was blocked in the first trimester after she reposted the gender reveal with "Did she grab her son like we hit the jackpot?" So, by the time the Faja stream went live, the direct channel between grandmother and mother had been dead for months. Everything Karlissa knows about Nevaeh's recovery, Nevaeh's effort Nevaeh's house. It's arriving secondhand, through the sun. The same sun, she told the audience, she informs constantly. The courier route runs both directions, family-sized. This one's going to divide the timeline, and honestly it should. Is the pattern here a mother protecting her son, or a family media operation that needs a villain per quarter to keep the streams monetized? Both camps brought receipts to that fight. Only one camp brought dates. Now, zoom in on one sentence, because one sentence in this whole stream is doing more work than the rest combined. When my son was in jail, she told me she sang. She wanted to get on. And if she got the opportunity, she would appreciate it like Jaidyn and Chrisean. Break that apart. When my son was in jail, a specific window, meaning there was a private conversation between Karlissa and Nevaeh at a moment Blueface could not have been in the room. She told me, Karlissa is now the witness to her own son's girlfriend's ambitions. She wanted to get on, a stated career motive, put in Nevaeh's own alleged mouth, being surfaced publicly for the first time on a stream, after a baby, after a fight, after father got involved. That's not a mother venting. That's a mother producing an exhibit on a specific timeline. And she followed it with, he knows all this because I tell him everything just like they tell me everything. She just admitted, on tape, that she's the courier between her son and his girlfriend. Whatever Nevaeh told her in confidence during the jail stretch, Blueface has it. And now the audience has it too. That's not a slip. That's a filing. And now, the Faja lecture makes sense. The Faja lecture was the volume. The intent reveal was the payload. She had to make you laugh at Nevaeh's stomach, so you'd swallow the sentence about the deal. New lenses. The folder's fatter, so the magnifier gets more glass. Business magnifier, the 12,000. Freeze on that number, because it behaves like a line item, not a boast. You make $12,000 a month, 'cause you work for me, per all about the T's circulated clip. A salary implies duties. Duties imply evaluation. Evaluation implies termination rights. Now, run Karlissa's stream back through that frame. You can't get up and do nothing. We can see how easily he could just replace you. And it stops sounding like a mother-in-law's complaint list. It sounds like a performance review. From the owner's family. Of an employee whose contract is a newborn. Digital magnifier. And this one had me zooming in 3 times before I trusted it. The gender reveal repost. Did she grab her son like we hit the jackpot LOL? Archived in the Shade Room's coverage of the block. On its face, a joke. In the file, the first time-stamped instance of the money motive frame pointed at Nevaeh months before she came in here for a deal ever hit a stream. The jackpot line is the rough draft. The deal line is the published version. The block, Nevaeh cutting the channel in trimester 1, is the response Karlissa never forgave, and every stream since has carried a blocked woman's energy, still talking just louder, to a room she can't be removed from. Visual magnifier, the robe. August 18th, hospital footage, Blueface in a gray robe, clutching it shut at the chest while he holds Junior, and the entire internet spent that news cycle memeing the robe, the grandma clutch, the single mother on Christmas wrap. All of it per the reaction roundup in the Shade Room's comment poll. Everybody processed the fabric. Almost nobody processed the frame. The mother is a body in a bed at the edge of the shot, the newborn is a prop mid-inspection, and the caption energy of the moment is, I think I'm the baby daddy. The visual grammar of that clip is ownership being verified, not family being welcomed. If you spotted the thing I spotted in that clip, drop the timestamp. Behavioral magnifier, the naming ceremony, or the disappearance of one. For months, Solar Porter. Announced, celebrated, hashtagged. Then the birth post, Johnathan Jamall Porter Jr. quiet. No reveal party for the switch. Just a kick stream mention per the reporting and a new signature where an old brand used to be. Track that behavior against the rest of the month. The airport run during labor. Though I think I'm the baby daddy inspection, the 12,000 payroll line, and a rhythm emerges. Every institutional marker of Nevaeh, the baby name she announced, the channel she blocked, the body she's recovering in, got overwritten in August. One by one. On camera, for lenses, for different corners of the same document. And not one of them required a single insult to land. Everybody's framing this wrong on purpose. The Blueface fan side is framing it as Mama defending her son. She's not. She's litigating a business relationship. The Nevaeh sympathy side is framing it as bullying a postpartum mother. It is that, but reducing it to that lets the actual claims slide by unread. The neutral commentary side is framing it as Karlissa being Karlissa, a personality, a character. She always does this, which is exactly the framing Karlissa benefits from. If she's just a character, the receipts she drops don't count as receipts. They count as content. Where do you land on that? Because the framing you pick decides which part of the stream you remember tomorrow, and I already know which part the algorithm wants you to remember, and it's not the part one, just underlined. 2 more frames joined the war this week, and both deserve decoding. First, the spectacle frame. When TMZ covered the August 11th closet incident, the headline anatomy was pure circus. Voodoo witch, in quotes front-loaded, meme-ready. What got buried 3 paragraphs down? A heavily pregnant woman praying with candles in her own home, and a partner whose response to her faith practice was to leave the house while streaming. The verb choices did the work. He booked it, she was caught. One party gets motion verbs. The other gets caught verbs. That's not reporting. That's casting. Second, the accountability blog frame. When the 12,000 clips circulated, the coverage DNA on pages like All About the Tea was Nevaeh is facing a wave of criticism for saying the number out loud. Sit with the editorial math there. The man converts his girlfriend into staff on a live stream, and the wave of criticism lands on the woman who quoted the salary. The frame protected the employer and audited the employee. And that frame is precisely the runway Karlissa's Faja stream landed on 6 days after the birth. The audience had already been pre-taught, whose behavior was up for review. Now the Steelman, because it arrived this week, wearing a headline instead of a username. The pushback making the rounds goes like this. Grandmothers have checked new mothers since the beginning of time. Karlissa's just the only one bold enough to do it with the camera on, and half the things she listed, the Faja, the hair, the getting up, are things plenty of families would privately co-sign. Respect to that red for one full beat, because it's not nothing. Postpartum family tension is real, generational friction over recovery is real, and some of the comment sections under Threads reposts are full of people claiming their own grandmother said worse. Here's where it collapses. Grandmothers check new mothers in kitchens. They don't do it with a comparison bench, the approved template, the tolerated template, the aspirational template, preloaded like exhibits. They don't pair the Faja lecture with a deal allegation sourced to a private jail window conversation. They don't run the audit while blocked, secondhand, 6 days postpartum. And they absolutely do not close the set by admitting they're the courier. Kitchens don't have payload structures. Broadcasts do. The grandma defense only works if you grade the stream as noise. Grade it as a document, which is the whole exercise here, and it's something else entirely. Here's what I think happened, and I'll wear it. Karlissa did not go live to check her son's girlfriend. Karlissa went live to preposition her son's exit. Every element on that stream is a brick in a wall labeled she was never really his. The Faja stuff softens the audience. The Jaidyn and Chrisean comparisons build the case that Nevaeh doesn't perform the role. The father on the phone bit paints Nevaeh as disrespectful and not wife material. And the she came for a deal line dropped almost as a throwaway is the load-bearing sentence. That sentence is what people are going to quote in 6 months when something else happens. Whether that something else is a breakup, a custody move, a career pivot for Nevaeh, or a public reconciliation with somebody the family prefers, I don't know yet. But the wall is being built. On camera. In front of us. And when it comes down, nobody's going to be able to say they weren't warned, because the warning was live-streamed with a laugh track. The other thing I'll say, and take the heat for, the postpartum dismissal, some white bull they done made up for white people, that part is going to age worse than any of the Faja jokes. That's the part that doesn't survive rewatching in 2 years. That's the part that ends up in a compilation with a very different caption than the one it's got today. Screenshot it now. The expanded folder hardens that read, "So let's stack the new bricks. The Payroll quote, "You work for me," means the deal frame didn't start with Karlissa's stream, it started on her son's. The jackpot repost means the money motive narrative was drafted in the first trimester, not improvised postpartum. The solar switch means even the baby's identity got reissued under the family brand the week he was born. And the "ask the last girl" line to the father means conflict in this family gets answered with precedent, not apology. For new bricks, same wall. And the mainstream read, the one the big entertainment pipes pushed all month, deserves its name called. TMZ ran the closet incident as a voodoo witch laugh line. AOL's syndicated version leaned on the Chrisean irritation angle. Every legacy frame, this August treated Nevaeh as a recurring gag in somebody else's show. That is the media environment a postpartum audit lands in. Karlissa didn't have to win the framing war. It was pre-surrendered. Okay, I have to say something about the robe footage specifically because it's the one receipt in this whole file that got more damning the less seriously people took it. The internet spent that entire news cycle on the grandma clutch jokes. And while everybody laughed at the fabric, the actual content of that clip, a paternity quip over a newborn, a mother at the edge of frame, a man mid-inspection got laughed past. That's the mechanic this whole episode keeps running on. Wrap the document in something clownable, and the document never gets graded. The Faja lecture is the robe. The deal sentence is what the robe is holding. Now the opposition jabs because they've earned individual attention. To the "she's just an old-school grandmother" camp. Old-school grandmothers don't need their commentary fact-checked against a trimester one jackpot post. To the "Nevaeh knew what family she signed up with" camp. Fascinating philosophy, being signed up with a family. Note how naturally the contract language comes to you too. To the "she should just log off and heal" camp. She did log off in trimester one. The stream found her anyway. And to the "this is all promo for something" camp, almost sympathetic to that one. Because if this is promo, the product being soft-launched is a breakup, and that's somehow the bleakest option on the board. One honest hedge before the gavel, because the file isn't airtight and pretending otherwise is how commentary goes rotten. There is a version of this where Karlissa is simply a combative mother with a streaming habit and zero filter, venting in real time, no strategy, no prepositioning, just volume. The pattern evidence is suggestive, not sworn. What keeps me leaning toward the exit preposition read isn't any single quote, it's the sequence discipline, appearance, work ethic comparison, replacement, grievance, intent, repeating across 3 different women over multiple years. Habits that organized rarely stay accidental forever. The likeliest next beat is a Nevaeh response. Probably not direct, probably through a story, a caption, or a strategically timed post about her son. She's not going to war with Karlissa on Karlissa's terrain. She'll pick her ground. Watch for a soft launch of a new look, a new hair situation, a workout clip. She'll answer the Faja lecture with visuals, not words. That's the low-risk play, and she knows it. And watch how that play compounds once it starts. By the 2-week mark, expect the visual answer to escalate into a scheduling answer. Appearances, a stream of her own on her own channel. Maybe finally that singing clip that she wanted to get online was designed to pre-dirty. Because here's the trap inside the trap. If Nevaeh ever does pursue music now, Karlissa's stream retroactively predicted it, and the deal frame becomes self-fulfilling. The next window will test whether Nevaeh understands that silence about the ambition is the only move that starves it. The failure prediction for the other side on this branch. Karlissa's camp is about to discover that a postpartum sympathy window has a long tail, every follow-up jab lands softer, and costs more than the last one. Don't be shocked when the comment sections under the next Karlissa stream run noticeably cooler than this week's. The wild card beat is Blueface himself. He has been unusually quiet on the mother versus girlfriend axis this cycle. If he sides with Karlissa publicly, the game for a deal narrative hardens into the official family position, and Nevaeh's leverage shrinks. If he sides with Nevaeh, even softly, a photo, a repost, a story, Karlissa's stream becomes something she has to walk back. And she doesn't walk anything back easily. Third option, which is the one I'd actually bet on, he says nothing and lets both women burn credibility while he stays camera cute. That's the pattern. Trace the wild card further, though. because his silence has a half-life. Once the next court date, probation obligation, or streaming contract milestone hits, and with this family, one is always within a month, the quiet strategy collides with a news cycle that demands a quote, and camera cute stops being available. Watch how the 12,000 payroll quote ages if he goes silent. It becomes the defining artifact of the relationship employer and staff, and every future soft moment gets graded against it. The opposition failure prediction on this branch is almost tender. Blueface is about to learn that staying neutral between your mother and your newborn's mother isn't neutrality, it's a slow-motion verdict, and by the holidays expect whichever woman feels unchosen to stop performing for the arrangement entirely. The residue beat, the one nobody's tracking yet, is Nevaeh's father. He got named on a livestream. He got told to shut up on a livestream. He got compared unfavorably to a man who puts in on rent. That is not a man who forgets. Whatever conversation happened between him and Blueface on that original phone call, that's the piece of paper this whole story is going to come back to. When this thing has its next chapter, it won't start with Karlissa. It'll start with him. And the cascade under him runs deeper than pride. Ask the last girl what happened to her dad wasn't just a comeback, it was a receipt reference, which means if the father ever speaks publicly, he doesn't have to raise his voice, he just has to raise the file. Don't be shocked when the first move from his side isn't a stream at all, but something quieter. A family member quote placed with a blog, a birthday post for Superior with a caption aimed 11 feet over Blueface's head. And here's the solar payoff from earlier because it's him who makes it matter. If a separation ever materializes, the name Johnathan Jamall Porter Jr. becomes the family's anchor claim on the child, legacy, brand, and belonging in one signature, and the father's side of the family will be litigating a boy who carries the other man's entire name. That rename wasn't a whim. It was a position. The failure prediction for the family on this branch. Karlissa's camp is about to find out that you cannot spend a month publicly auditing a man's daughter, her body, her work ethic, her womb, her motives, and then expect him to accept it's just content as the settlement terms. Pull the tab back up. Read the sentence again. She told me, she sang. She wanted to get on. That's the receipt. Everything else on that stream was the wrapping paper. If you want to know which of the three next beats actually lands, drop a 1, 2, or 3 in the comments. 1 for the soft Nevaeh clapback, 2 for Blueface picking a side, 3 for the father coming back around. We're keeping score, and when the next filing drops on this family, you already know where it gets read first. Subscribe, bell on. We'll see you in the next one.